Good morning, crime community. I'm here to continue reading out Patriotism Unhinged by James Manning. We're at Loran Eugene Hall. Loran Eugene Hall was born in Newton, Kansas in January 1930. He joined the U.S. Army and later became a mercenary who joined the rebels led by Fidel Castro. Hall fell out with Castro, and in 1959 he spent several months in prison with cellmate Santo Trafficani. On his release, Hall moved to the United States with Jerry P. Hemming, a member of the anti-Castro group, Intercontinental Penetration Force. Hall joined Hemming, Frank Sturgis, and David Ferry in the International Anti-Communist Brigade. In an interview he gave to the House Select Committee on Assassinations, Hall admitted he was a radical right-winger and a reactionary. He almost every meeting that I ever went to, I heard somebody plotting to blow Kennedy's head off. Hall participated in several raids and shipping around Cuba in February and March '63 and was wounded in the leg. A few weeks later, Gary P. Hemming introduced Hall to John Martino. Hall met Santo Trafficante, Sam Giancana, Johnny Roselli at a Miami Beach hotel. Later reported that Giancana gave Eddie Bayo $15,000 as a down payment for a raid on Cuba. Bayo claimed that the two officers in the Red Army wanted to defect to the United States. Hall did not take part in the Bayo-Pali raid as he became involved in a project to overthrow the government of Haiti. According to the author of The Road to Dallas, the invasion of Haiti involved John Martino, Irving Davidson, Ronald Masfer, and Carlos Marcello. The involvement suggested that while Masfer reportedly hoped to establish an anti-Castro base in Haiti after overthrowing Duvalier, mob interests were looking forward to building some new casinos there. Hall reestablished contact with Santo Trafficani in Florida in 1963. In his book, The Road to Dallas, the historian David Kaiser claims Loran Hall had been involved in many discussions of assassination plots against Castro, including one failed attempt known as the Bayo-Pali raid, and had also heard a good deal of talk about assassinating President Kennedy. In September '63, a Cuban exile, Silvio Odillo, received a visit from three men who claimed to be from New Orleans. Two of them were members of the Junta Revolucionaria. The third man, Leon, was introduced as an American sympathizer who was willing to take part in the assassination of Fidel Castro. After she told them what she was unwilling to get involved in any criminal activity, the three men left. After the assassination of JFK, Silvio Odillo discovered that Leon was Lee Harvey Oswald. Odillo gave evidence to the Warren Commission, and one of its lawyers commented, Silvio Odillo was checked out thoroughly. The evidence is unanimously favorable that Odillo is the most significant witness linking Oswald to the anti-Castro Cubans. On September 16, 1964, FBI agent Leon Brown introduced Loran Hall on behalf of the Warren Commission. Brown claims that Hall admitted that he visited a woman who could have been Silvio Odillo. However, after Bowen showed Hall a photograph of Odillo, Hall claimed she was not the woman he met in New Orleans. The FBI interviewed Silvio Odillo again in October '64. They showed her photographs of Loran Hall, William Seymour, Lawrence Howard, and Cielo Castro Alga. She claimed none of the individuals were identical to the three men who have come to her apartment in Dallas on the last week of September '63. Her sister, Annie Odillo, was also in the apartment then and confirmed they were not the three individuals. The author, Anthony Summers, suggests that the visit had been a deliberate ploy to link Junta Revolucionaria, the left-wing exile group, with the assassination. Hall later gave evidence before the House Select Committee on Assassinations and denied he told the FBI he visited Odio on September 25, 63. Hall denied that he was involved in the assassination. However, in an interview he gave to the Dallas Morning News, he was right-wing activists working with CIA operatives wanted him to join the conspiracy to kill JFK. According to Hall, he refused the contract. In another interview, Hall stated, Hemming is a CIA punk, okay? I've known the son of a bitch for 14 years. He turned his own goddamn cruise so he wouldn't have to go to Cuba. He figured me on my goddamn deals and caused me to get arrested. Hey man, as it now stands, only two of us were left alive, me and Santos Traficante. And as far as I'm concerned, we're both going to stay alive because I ain't going to say shit. However, during the testimony to the House Select Committee on Assassinations on May 77, Hall makes it clear that he was referring to the Bayo Pali raid rather than the killing of Kennedy. In September 89, a federal drug conspiracy indictment in Tulsa named Loran Eugene Hall Sr., 59, his daughter, Barbara Ann Martinet, 34, of Mesquite, and his sons Michael Stephen Hall, 36, and Burns, Kansas, and Lorraine Jean Hall Jr., 34, of Derby, Kansas, and two other Kansas residents. The indictment charges that the elder Mr. Hall led the ring, which manufactured methamphetamine between October 87 and February 89. Lorraine Hall Jr. and Michael Hall pleaded guilty. Their father and sister remain at large. During the trial of Lorraine Eugene Hall Jr., he claimed that the CIA operative set up a methamphetamine ring based in Mesquite and funneled money to the Contras in Nicaragua. Jim Hefflett, a Tulsa attorney representing Hall, and his client believes the operation was a CIA front. It may be true. There's quite an extensive history of his father's involvement, Hefflett said. My client told me that a lot of his dad's involvement, specifically in the Kennedy assassination, has been sealed up and we never may find out. Loran Hall died in Newton, Kansas on April 1995. Hernando Diaz Garcia. Herminio Diaz Garcia was born in Cuba in 1923. He was a cashier at the Hotel Habana Riviera in the Cuban restaurant, workers' union member. Later, he became involved in illegal activities and eventually became the bodyguard for Santos Traficante. Diaz Garcia killed Pepe Hernandez in 1948 at the Cuban consulate in Mexico. In 1957, he was involved in the assassination attempt against President Jose Figueres of Costa Rica. Diaz Garcia moved to the United States in July 1963, where he worked for Tony Varona. In December 1963, Diaz Garcia was involved in the unsuccessful attempt to assassinate Fidel Castro. He was also involved in providing weapons to anti-Castro groups. Some researchers believe that Diaz Garcia was one of the gunmen who killed JFK. Diaz Garcia was killed on a mission to Monte Barreto in the Miramar district of Cuba in May 1966 and is buried in Columbus, Havana. Charles Rogers. Charles Rogers was born in 1921, studied nuclear physics at the University of Houston. During the Second World War, he served with the Organization of Naval Intelligence. After the war, Rogers worked as a seismologist with Shell Oil. While a member of the Civil Air Patrol, he became a close friend of David Ferries and joined the CIA in 1956. Rogers was accused of being involved in the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Gibson claims that Rogers was Frenchie, one of the three tramps, along with W. and Chauncey Holt, arrested in Daley Plaza on November 22, 1963. After his release, Rogers left the country on a CIA plane to South America. 2. Blow up from a tramp photo shows Frenchie. This was Harold Doyle, whom the man much more resembles than he does Charles Rogers. In the 1992 book, The Man on the Grassy Knoll, John R. Craig and Phillips A. Rogers claimed that Rogers was Lee Harvey Oswald, imposter who traveled to Mexico City the months before the assassination. The authors argued that Rogers and Charles Harrelson were the two gunmen behind the picket fence on the grassy knoll. On June 23, 65, Charles Rogers' parents, Fred and Edwina Rogers, were found murdered in Houston, Texas. Officers Charles Bullock later reported, "I opened the refrigerator and saw nothing but meat stocked in it. My partner, standing next to me, made the comment, and it looked like somebody had butchered a hog. We didn't know it was a body until we got ready to close the refrigerator and we could see the human head down in the bottom of the vegetable bin." Charles Rogers was the chief suspect, but he disappeared and has not been seen since. The private detective John R. Craig claims that Rogers continued to work for the CIA in South America and was part of the Iran-Contra program. Another report says that he was murdered in Honduras. In October 1993, Chauncey Holt confessed to John Craig, Phillips Rogers, and Clay Shaw about his role in the assassination of JFK. Holt's story was sabotaged in 1992 when the Dallas Police Department revealed that the three tramps were Gus Abrams, John F. Gedney, and Harold Doyle. Ray and Mary LaFontaine carried out their personal research into this claim. They traced Doyle and Gedney, who confirmed they were two of the tramps in the photograph. Gus Abrams was dead, and his sister identified him as the third tramp in the picture. We're going to end this book today, and that leaves chapter 10, 20 people who knew about the JFK murder before it happened. Now we're just going to go to the Grodin book again, The Killing of the President. We're going to read about the death list. Jacqueline Hess, House Selective Committee of Assassinations, Chief of Research, researched the mysterious deaths that had befallen many of the witnesses and participated in the assassination. An article in the London Sunday Times said the odds were 100 trillion to 1 that so many witnesses would die so soon after the assassination. But Hess claimed we had thus established the impossibility of attempting to establish any meaningful implications about the existence or absence of a conspiracy. The committee eventually decided that our final conclusion on the issue is that the available evidence does not establish anything about the nature of these deaths which would indicate the deaths were in some manner either direct or peripherally caused by the assassination of President Kennedy. Both the Warren Commission and the House Assassinations Committee versions of the shooting include a bullet traveling on the left to right trajectory through the president's head. The book depository was always to the right rear of the president. For the bullet to have come from anywhere in the depository, the trajectory would have been from right to left. Either the official version of the trajectory was completely wrong or the headshot could not have been from the depository. In fact, the entrance and exit points were the opposite of what is shown in the Assassinations Committee illustrations. Mystery Death Project. Marilyn M. Wally, a dancer whom Jack Ruby was hired on the day of the president was killed, had planned to write a book about John Kennedy's assassination. She was shot to death on September 1st, 1966. Her husband was convicted of murdering her. Mysterious Death Project, House Assassinations Committee. CIA Executive John A. Paisley died while sailing on Chesapeake Bay. Covert County, Maryland. Coroner Dr. DeGeorge Weems later testified to anger of his superior Maryland medical examiner, Dr. Russell Fisher, that he believed Paisley had been the victim of foul play. Fisher claimed that the death was a suicide and angrily denied that Paisley had been murdered. Maurice B. Gatlin Sr. supposedly fell out of a window to his death in Panama in 1964. The association to Guy Bannister, he was involved with the CIA and served as legal counsel to the Anti-Communist League of the Caribbean. He once claimed he held a large sum of CIA money for a right-wing group that wanted to assassinate French President Charles de Gaulle. Harold Russell, who saw the man leaving the scene of J.D. Tippett's murder. believed that his life was in danger because of what he had seen. At a party in February 1967, Russell became extremely agitated, thinking he would be killed at any moment. His friends called the police, who tried to reason with him. One of the officers struck Russell, who died soon afterwards. Teresa Norton, also known as Karen Bennett Carlin, and Little Lynn, who worked as a stripper in Jack Ruby's Carousel Club. On November 24, 1963, she apparently called Ruby from out of town, calling him that she desperately needs funds. Ruby went downtown to wire her money, then went to the nearby police headquarters and killed Lee Harvey Oswald. Could Norton's telephone call have been to provide a reason for Ruby to be in the vicinity of the police station? Norton was supposedly shot to death in Houston in August 1964. Though no death certificate exists. At present, it is uncertain whether Norton is alive or dead. John Crawford, a close friend of Jack Ruby and 5 other persons, died in 1969 while Crawford piloted a plane in the night flight. The investigation of the accident revealed that Crawford had left on the trip suddenly. His passengers also left hurriedly. The keys were still in the cars in the airport, and one woman left her picture in front of the seat of her car. Lee Oswald's landlady, Earlene Roberts, died on January 9th, 1966, when her heart failed. Guess what lot was going on in 1966? The endless summer. When her heart failed, Lee Harvey Oswald's landlady, her heart failed on January 9th. Roberts had claimed that an officer, Alexander, sometimes came to the house to see Oswald. This was perhaps Dallas Assistant District Attorney Bill Alexander, who had known Jack Ruby well and had met with Ruby the day before Oswald was murdered. Mrs. Earl Smith, an intimate friend and confidant of former reporter Dorothy Kilgallen. Dorothy Kilgallen's best friend, Mrs. Earl Smith, died of unknown causes only 2 days after Kilgallen herself died of an alleged barbiturate overdose. So they don't only unalived Dorothy Kilgallen, they unalived her best friend. Mafia figure Carlos Nicoletti, the guy who had to shoot his father when he was 11 years old. We'll forgive Charles for that one. I know what they do to 11 years olds. Was shot in the head 3 times, March 28, 1977, while in his car, which was set on fire. Nicoletti, Sam Giancana, and John Roselli died violent deaths before they could testify before the House Assassination Committee's connections between the CIA assassination plot against Fidel Castro and the killing of JFK. Teresa Norton, also known as Karen Bennett Carlin and Little Lynn, worked as a stripper in Jack Ruby's Carousel Club on November 24, 1963. She apparently called Ruby from out of town, telling him that she desperately needed funds. Ruby went downtown to wire her money, and she went to the nearby police headquarters and killed Lee Harvey Oswald. Could Norton's telephone call have been provide a reason for Ruby to be in the vicinity of the police station? Norton was supposedly shot to death in Houston of August 1964. Through no certificate exists at present, it is uncertain whether Norton is alive or dead. I think I read that one twice, but it was probably meant to be that way. If you think there's any truth or like of what's going on here, I will continue to read this stuff until I ain't here no more. So please like and subscribe and have a good day. And if I want to talk about Sandra Good a little bit, I guess I can. What have I learned about Sandra Good? Al Rose, the Free Clinic San Francisco administrator, Al Rose, I'm blessed with he is so pleased with the Manson group that he spent time on Spahn Ranch with them. Al Rose, he was the San Francisco Free Clinic administrator. Rose collaborated with Roger Smith, the clinic director, and Charlie Manson's parole officer. Roll gathered them in trouble in Mendocino County and got them busted for selling Rose's friends to an underage girl. They busted the girls. The boys went back and destroyed the apartment, destroyed the girls' laptops, phones, took the clothes out to the outside of the house and poured orange paint all over their clothes. And before they knew it, they were convicted and deemed the witches of Mendocino when they were put into the psyops by Al Rose of the San Francisco Free Clinic. The Free Clinic administrator who lived on Span Ranch for 2 days, they all set him up. So there's so many stories like this between Span Ranch and the President Kennedy and to the current day. Okay, have a nice day. Please like and subscribe.